Let's take it live. We'll officially convene the Littleton Conservation Commission meeting of August 5th, 2025. Relatively short agenda, although we have a decent amount under administrative discussion. So for those participating, we are going to take the administrative discussion until we get to the 7:45 hearing. Then we'll take the hearings, and then if we still have administrative discussion, we'll come back to that. First, let's get to the minutes. I think the agenda said the minutes of July 8th, but the minutes that we have in our email are July 22nd. Tim, can you confirm we need to approve the July 22nd, but not the July 8th minutes?
That's correct. Yeah, it was a typo.
Okay, no worries. Are there any additions, corrections, deletions, or comments on the July 22nd, 2025 minutes?
That looks great. Yeah, it looks good to me.
Cool. Very good. We get a motion then?
I move that we approve the minutes of July 22nd as presented.
Second.
Okay. Motion's made and seconded. Andrew, you can take our roll call votes tonight, please.
Sure. Roll call vote. Michael.
Michael Livingston, aye.
Kyle. Oh, Kyle, I think you may have been on mute.
Doesn't look like you're on mute on Zoom.
Maybe a thumbs up.
No.
Oh, there we go.
We can hear.
Now we're good. Perfect. So Kyle, was that an aye? Ed? Oh, Ed, I think you're on mute.
Just becoming the thing tonight. Ed votes aye.
Carl?
Tom Melberg, aye.
Chase?
Chase Gerber guy.
And myself, aye. It's unanimous.
Very good. Tim, do you have any additions to the administrative discussion, or does anyone else have additions to that before we get into it?
Yeah, I have one brief one. It's going to be about 58 Hartwell.
Okay. Anybody else have anything else that they want to bring up tonight?
Yeah, just had a quick one.
That's for me.
Go ahead.
Oops.
Go ahead, Bob.
The Workers Credit Union. Just had a quick observation.
Okay. So we got 58 Hartwell workers, and then Ed, did you have something?
Yeah, I'd like to get an update on Powers Road.
Okay.
He's got some heavy equipment in there and stuff. I'm just curious what's left.
Okay. So we're going to add Powers Road discussion, 58 Hartwell, and Workers Credit Union to it. We may add things later, but that'll be the list for now. Nonetheless, we're going to go through what we've got first. Tim, do you want to take us through top of the order, 19 Ipswich? And we may take the enforcement orders out of order a little bit, just to try and move things along.
Yeah, sure. 19 Ipswich, this was an old one, it was just a septic replacement. And it is stable and, in my opinion, ready to be issued.
Okay. And you've inspected it
Yep.
and everything?
Up there Monday.
Okay. Anyone else have comments or questions on 19 Ipswich? Hearing none, can we get a motion to issue this COC?
Make a motion.
All right, go ahead, Andrew.
Oh, sorry.
No,
Make
it's
a
all right.
motion that the commission issue a certificate of compliance for 19 Ipswich Drive, DEP file number 204-0431.
I'll second.
All right. Roll call vote. Michael.
Michael Livingston, aye.
Kyle.
Maxfield, aye.
Ed.
Ed votes aye.
Carl.
Tom Melberg, aye.
Chase.
Chase Gerber guy.
And myself, aye. It's unanimous.
Very good. Let's move on to the enforcement order for 3 Sarah Indian Way. Tim, you want to give us an update on it? And then to the extent that we need information, I don't know if the property owner is here with us or not.
Yeah, I don't see the property owner here. If you are here, please raise your hand, and we'll promote you to talk. Do you want to continue with this in the event that the property owner is not here? Oh, here we go. He's here. I'm promoting him right now.
Okay, very good. So, Tim, if you could bring everybody up to speed, we'll also Oh, actually, you know what? Let me pause until the property owner is in, because sometimes things
Sure.
get a little wonky when you go from one to the other. Okay, looks like we've got the property owner in. Tim, if you could give us just an understanding of what we're looking at here and what issues are in front of us, and then what I'd like to do is have the property owner explain what's going on after you've briefed us on it.
Sure. So the enforcement order was issued for some clearing that was observed going down to the bank of Fort Pond. I was able to get in contact with the property owner, and he confirmed that there were 2 stumps that were there that were removed. That area that was cleared is now stabilized with stump grindings. When we went out to the site, there were some sonotubes which were observed. So a little bit of a background. Mr. Warren did obtain a DOA for the rebuild of the gazebo out there in the existing footprint. And on the plan that was submitted for that RDA, it shows an old set of stairs that were removed, and then a new set of stairs. The only thing that was discussed during those meetings was the gazebo itself, not the stairs. So there may have been a little confusion there. I believe Mr. Warren is under the assumption that the stairs were permitted to be built, and I believe that is why the sonotubes were observed out there and are out there right now. So Jay, if any of that is incorrect, please correct me, and feel free to review from your perspective.
Before we get to that, Tim, can you help me understand your observations with respect to the footprint of the previous stairs, the old stairs that were there, versus what's being constructed now? Same footprint or different footprint?
It's a different footprint. I can pull up the plan. I do have it here. It might help you guys visualize it. Give me a second.
Why don't we do that, and then we'll let the property owner weigh in. But I would like to hear your perspective on what you're doing first.
Yeah, we went on a site walk together. There was a handful of us there.
Okay.
And yeah, we were a little confused at first, and then when I went back and looked at the plan, it was unfortunate that I see it on the proposed plan. I think Tim's right. There was some confusion on there's some existing stairs called out to be removed. And I think we might have assumed that they were all existing stairs that are drawn on here, but I think that's why we like engineered plans that kind of show existing conditions and proposed plans. 2 different sets.
So can you see my cursor? These are the old stairs that were removed, and this is the what would be the new stairs. They're not there yet, but these sonotubes are these circles, and they are currently installed.
Yep.
Okay, Kyle, anything to add to that?
No, I think that's absolutely correct. So I'm not sure we can do too much. We approve this plan.
Okay. Is that Mr. Dolan is the property owner? Is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
Mr. Dolan, are you able to unmute yourself and give us an understanding of where you're at in your project and sort of help us understand how you see this sort of unfolding here?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Two things. Okay. Kind of caught me off guard a little bit, but I did come in and see, I think, Tim yesterday, in what I thought might have got the attention of a neighbor or other property owners is June 20th or 21st, 2 trees came down on my neighbor's property. Okay. And took down the wires. So Littleton Electric came out and cut the trees up, okay, and left all the brush. As they said when I talked to them, their job is to clear the roadway and put the wires up. Mm-hmm. So I went in there personally, and I have a skid steer. I cleared all the stuff. I cut everything up. And I gave Tim a couple of pictures of that today. The two big tree stumps are still there on the side of the road, but all the brush is gone, everything's cleared. So that was probably what started this confusion, okay? Because there was a mess there. And I went to the town. They gave me the date that they came out there. They got it all on record. The two trees came down. Actually, one tree came down and took another tree down with it because of the size of it. And Tim has those pictures and for you guys to look at. In doing so, with the skid steer, you have a picture of it, okay? I hit one of the other trees and took the bark off of it. You should have a copy of that. I rectified that, went to Abishan. First I went online and asked the best way to fix it. Went to Abishan, bought bark repair, painted the tree. I live up the street, and I think Mr. Ed Pearson has been to my house when he originally looked at this project. I'm very meticulous. I care more about this property than you guys because I own it. So I want it to be done right. Okay. And as I said, whatever you guys say, I'm going to do because I live there. Okay. And I started this project last year. Okay. And life has gotten in its way. So I put the sonotubes in, so I priced out what I want to do, and I want to do it correctly. Okay. And I stopped doing it because there were other things more important to do. And the project's going to start, not because we're talking now, but it was in the fall. It just wasn't important for me to be sweating. And also there's people that use the pond, and what do you call it? The kids are out there every day at the camp. So I don't want to be out there sawing wood and doing stuff. So, the camp closes another couple of weeks. The end of September, I'm going to start the project again and finish it before the winter time. And whatever you guys say, if you want seed, but nothing has ever gone in the water. I can guarantee you that. Okay. I put all the hay bales around, all the retaining things. And to be honest with you, one of my daughters, I've got 7 kids, okay, and 17 grandkids. We get our money's worth out of that pond, okay. Our side looks like Camp Neshoba. I don't know if that's good or bad, but that's why we live there. But anyways, one of my daughters a year ago actually sprained her ankle in one of the rocks. So that was one of the things. The stairs were all rotted before, but the stairs actually weren't legal. And you guys gave my next door neighbor, what do you call it? He had to rebuild it. Actually, one of my trees fell on his property, and he had to get his gazebo rebuilt and the stairs all rebuilt. And when you guys inspected that, that's when you looked at my stuff and said, what are you doing over there? And I said, well, we're trying to, and I showed them all the pictures of the rotted stuff. I'm going on, but I'm trying to do everything the right way.
No, we appreciate that, Mr.
And
Dolan.
whatever suggestions you have, I'm okay.
Yep. And I think part of what we're trying to sort out here is precisely what the right way is in a way that's protective of the resource areas. Kyle, it sounded like who else had gone out for a site inspection? I wouldn't mind if you guys could fill in the rest of us on sort of what you saw out there in terms of erosion potential. And Kyle, honestly, your thoughts on where we should go here. Okay.
Michael, you were out there with us, right?
Yeah, I was.
Was it just the 3 of us? No, Tim, you, me, and Tim?
And Sarah was there, but she's not here.
Yeah, so this, I think, makes more sense in my mind, or I feel comfortable about this story, this timeline. Because, we went out, obviously, and the neighbor had said, hey, there's stuff going on out here. There's equipment. You got to come down and look. And it looked like, it looks exactly like what he said, what he described. I would like to see kind of a before. I mean, I don't know if it's pictures, Tim, if we can see a before picture and now what it looks like, because I would assume that there was more kind of undergrowth in the area. It was pretty clear cut.
You mean like on the shoreline?
Yeah, on the bank.
In between the dock and the porch?
kind of where Tim took down the plan. It is in between the dock and the porch, but more so at the top of that plan is where all this must have happened, because that's where it really was cleaned up, and it was just down to grade and mulch.
Okay.
Yeah. So
If you see the top where the wheelbarrows is, that's where you can see there's the tree right where that pointer is. That's where the damaged tree was. Okay. And that's where I picked up all the brush and all the stuff and actually backed into one of the trees and took all the bark off. And then I actually went to Onyx and Littleton and got all the chip grindings, because I went online and they said that was the best way to retain the stuff. So I put all the chip and they're actually, it's not chip, it's the stuff that they give away free. It's the roots, the what do you call it? All
The stump grindings.
All the stump grindings,
yeah,
right?
it looks pretty stable. It does look like work was done. Which makes sense.
You can see the tree. You can see the tree that I hit. Right.
Okay.
And that's been fixed.
So, and in terms of the stairs that are being put in, Kyle, is your understanding that we approved a plan that showed those stairs? And maybe we didn't understand what was going on, but the plan we approved included those.
Yeah, that's my gut feeling, unfortunately, or it is what it is. But yeah, and I think that's why we kind of like to see a existing conditions plan set aside from a proposed plan. This kind of showed both, and so yeah.
I did the original walkthrough at that night, actually. I don't remember seeing any stairs in place. I mean, we talked and it was pretty obvious, that they needed to be replaced and so forth. I don't recall any discussion at the time of a staircase going down to the dock. The plan that was up a little while ago, that certainly shows it. So
I remember meeting Ed there, because matter of fact, Ed was kind enough, because we were kind of confused. I was down waiting down at the water, and he was waiting at my house, and he probably waited about a half hour, 45 minutes kindly for me, and I'm down there waiting down the water. And anyways, we went back there, and there were no stairs there, and there was no building there. There was no building there either, because I had already torn the building down, and that's where the
platform was there. That was it.
Yeah, and they had all the pictures of all the rotted lumber and so forth. And actually, Ed saw all the pictures of the rotted lumber. He didn't see pictures of the stairs, because the stairs were already in at the Acton dump, to be honest with you.
Okay. So I guess the other question that I have is, I appreciate, Mr. Dolan, that you put down the stump grindings. I guess my sense is that's a better short-term measure than a long-term measure. Those tend to wash away over time.
It absolutely is. It absolutely is. I just, as you can see, nothing, as you know, in any construction site, gets worse before it gets better. So you're looking at something that's been there almost a year with nothing done, nothing at all. Okay. Matter of fact, since Ed looked at it, there hasn't been anything except a tarp put on top of the lumber so it wouldn't get waterlogged.
So my question for the commission is, do we need to ask Mr. Dolan to do something more permanent than just mulch on that exposed surface? I haven't looked at it, so I would defer to the wisdom of those that were there.
What did anything come to mind?
I was thinking plant some bushes, something like that, to add some
some sort of root
stability.
Well, that's all going to be done once the building's done. It's like, it's like any project. I mean, it just it gets worse before it gets. This is going to look absolutely gorgeous when it's done. Okay, Ed came up to my house, he saw the way my house is built. And just, everything's meticulous, very meticulous, and done correctly. I mean, it's my house, This is my property on the water. It's going to be very tastefully and done properly.
Understood. I appreciate that.
I was about to say, I think the concern is just while you're doing it, that hill is ripe for erosion. And you said nothing's gone into the pond, but the one picture I'm looking at, there's a trash barrel right at the water.
That's because I was picking up the stuff with the trash barrel.
Okay,
I was working there.
sure. So maybe we need a time frame when you will be completing and alleviating any risk of erosion.
Whatever you guys want to do. There's no argument at all. I just want to do it correctly.
Sure.
I mean, I think what we would prefer to see, and I'll risk speaking out of turn here, is to see vegetation growth before we get into the winter season. So either you've completed the construction and you've worked on and you've revegetated those areas that remain disturbed, or if the construction is not complete by the time we get to, let's say, October, that you commit to vegetating that so that it's vegetated over the winter time.
I have no problem with that at all.
Okay. So that's one issue. I think the other issue is the stairs, and I think what I'm hearing is we may not have understood the plans. I will tell you, I'm not sure I would have supported permitting the stairs as I understand them now. But my proposal to the commission is, because we did permit it, we probably have to live with it, even if we didn't understand it and permitted something we don't particularly care for now.
I agree with you, Chase. I think we would have had a more thorough discussion about it. I'm not saying that I wouldn't have ultimately approved it, depending on what they were going to look like and constructability. It certainly is some more square footage than what was previously there.
Yeah,
if we would have gotten more, we probably could have gotten there.
When we had the discussions, in my head, it was strictly the platform. It wasn't anything beyond that platform. The stuff on top of the platform, of course, but
right. I totally agree with you. I also remember looking at this plan
I don't remember the sonotubes and all that in the picture, but as you said, Kyle, if this is the plan we approved, whether intentionally or otherwise, we kind of have to stick to what we approved.
Yep. We hold people to build what they committed to, and similarly, I think we need to hold ourselves to allowing people to build things that we approved.
Yep, absolutely.
Okay. Any opposition to leaving the stairs as is then? Okay.
For me.
Any other concerns? We talked about a condition on this that says that slope needs to be stabilized. I would assume that there also needs to be erosion control. I saw some in that picture. I don't know the status of it precisely, but there should be erosion control on that slope, and it needs to be stabilized before winter.
I'll get a couple more rolls.
I think that might be a good idea. Any other conditions that we want to apply to this? Okay.
It might not hurt to get an understanding of what the owner plans on putting there, stabilizing with.
Maybe a planting plan?
Yeah, if it's plantings or if it's some sort of
whatever it is, yeah.
Yeah,
we ask for that for almost everybody. So
yeah, at least
that's a good point.
Right, so where he's comfortable with it, we have time for that, I guess. The owner can come up with what he thinks he would like to see there, and Tim can kind of give it a yay or nay.
So, Mr. Dolan, what we're asking for is not just a general commitment to vegetate it, but a more specific plan for what you will actually plant there. Will it be high bush blueberry, or will it be? I'm not a plant guy, but what specifically you would plan on planting there, and submitting that plan to the commission that says, I'm going to plant X number of bushes of this type, and I'm going to put this type of seed down in this area. And the reason we ask for that are twofold. One, we want to make sure it's stuff that's going to survive, right? That it's the right match. And the other is we want to make sure that we're putting in things that are native and ecologically valuable. And Tim or Lauren can certainly help you with with putting that together to a degree.
I agree.
Tim, administratively, what do you propose for a process here?
So the
Sorry to put you on the spot.
EO was already ratified at the last meeting. I mean, it's up to you guys. Do you want to see, once we come up with the planting plan, do you guys want to see it at a meeting, or are you okay with me confirming it with Mr. Dolan?
I'm totally okay with Tim giving.
I'm fine with Tim approving it.
Okay.
Sure.
And
Sounds
then
I like that.
once it's stabilized, revisit to discuss lifting the EO. Do you guys want a monitoring period?
We typically have a 3-year monitoring period for plantings.
I would imagine it's going to go through at least the next year's growing season, right? But
Yeah, I would think for shrubs we could possibly shorten that, Carl, but
Yeah.
but I think a year to confirm that we get revegetation. And Mr. Dolan, here shouldn't be an onerous thing. We just want to make sure, just like you and your family use the lake, we want to make sure your property is stable so that everybody else can use the lake the way they want to. Okay, so yeah, I think what we do then is we leave the EO in place. Tim, if you could write this up, communicate the plan to Mr. Dolan. And then
Yep.
Mr. Dolan, if you can put together a planting plan and run that through Tim and Lauren, then we should be on a path to rectifying all this.
Sounds good. Thank you for your time.
yeah, thanks for coming in.
Appreciate it, y'all. Okay. As I promised, we're going to move on to the public hearings. So we have a 7:45 public hearing for a notice of intent, 18 Pleasant Street, DEP file number 2041024. Tim, you want to give us an update, and then we'll ask the property owner to give us an update.
Sure. So me, Lauren, and Kyle went out site with Montgomery and did a site walk last week. And Montgomery's confirmed there's not going to be any trees coming down for this septic work. It's all going to be in an area of existing lawn. And we have a revised plan that was submitted that shows stockpiling. I believe it is in the front of the house. Montgomery, do you have that plan? If not, I can share it on my screen.
Yeah, I can share it.
Sure.
Yes. Are you able to see the plan?
Yes, we are.
Yeah, so basically the only thing that changed was last hearing we requested the site, you guys requested the site visit, so we did that with Tim last week. It was staked out and everything, so they did see that on site. And then we did provide this stockpile area outside of the 100-foot buffer zone in the front of the property. That's the only change that we made to the plan that was requested last hearing.
I also read, Montgomery, and correct me if I'm wrong, y'all, that there was a concern about making sure that the existing septic tank was just decommissioned in place, and it looks like you added a note to the plan to do that as well. Is that correct?
Yeah, so yeah, we do have that note actually. Note 19.
Okay.
So basically it will be pumped dry, and then the bottom will be cracked, and then it'll be filled with sand and just left in place.
Commissioners, any other comments or questions on this particular project?
Yep, Montgomery, I think you hadn't gone in front of Board of Health, but that was maybe last week. Did everything go right with that?
Yep, so we got approval. This is like a week before that, I think. So we got approval from the Board of Health. So the plan was approved.
Yeah, I was on that sidewalk with Tim and Lauren, and just because I was concerned when I looked at the aerial of this property originally, it had tree cover. There's some large trees out there, but so just the canopy covers the backyard. But where they'll be working, there shouldn't be any issue at all. This actually seemed really straightforward once we got out there.
Thanks for making time to do the sidewalk.
Yeah, and I think Tim, you said you looked at the flags, but they were pretty obvious as well, right?
Yeah, we confirm the flags.
So outside of the proposed construction material stockpile location, do we have any other special conditions that we want to see with this before we close it? I don't think I heard any, but I want to confirm.
No, I don't think I have any.
Can I get a motion then, perhaps, to?
Yeah, make a motion to close public hearing and issue an order of conditions for 18 Pleasant Street, DEP number 204-1024.
With waiver?
With the waiver.
Second. All right, roll call vote. Carl.
Carl Melberg, aye.
Michael.
Michael Livingston, aye.
Kyle.
Matt Maxwell, aye.
Ed.
Ed Foltz, aye.
Chase Gervig, aye.
And myself, aye. It's unanimous.
Very good.
Thanks,
All right, thank you guys.
Have a great night.
One thing I should note on that, I voted on that. I missed the hearing 2 weeks ago. Tim, I should fill out a Mullen waiver on that, having reviewed the documentation for it.
Yeah. Okay.
So
I do
if
that.
you can put that in my email, I'd appreciate it.
Sure.
Part of the reason I was reminded to think of that is next up is the notice of intent for 31 Mattawanakie Trail. Michael, I know sometimes you recuse yourself from certain projects around here. Are you participating in this one, or are you recusing yourself from this one?
I'll be participating.
Okay, great. That makes quorum easier. So, Tim, you want to give us an update, and then we can dive into it?
Sure. We have, let me promote Chuck here. All right. So Chuck submitted a revised plan, which I'm actually going to show here. All right. So what we asked of Chuck at the last meeting was to locate the areas of work that are going to be redone and to put together a construction sequence, and also to highlight access and where things are going to be stored and stockpiled. So you can see the stockpiling areas up here on the driveway. This is going to be the route for the access. The tops of the retaining walls are going to be replaced. The stairs are going to be replaced, and an area of the patio. Some of the pavers are sinking. They're going to be removed. There's going to be fill placed under those pavers, and the pavers are going to go back, be replaced as well. And then also Chuck added locations for erosion controls as well. You can see down here the silt fence proposed, and this is the construction sequence.
Okay, questions? I'm sorry, Mr. Bush, do we have you promoted?
Yes.
Yeah, he's there.
Anything you want to add to that, or any other context you think we need to know before we dive into a discussion?
Okay, really, there's a site for the stockpile, but what's going to happen is as soon as we remove things, they're going to go in trucks and go off-site. And then as soon as we need things, they're going to come down from my shop. I have an office on Gilson Road in Groton. There's a big spot where we can lay things. So if we need certain parts, we're going to bring them down, and they're going to go right down on the walls or the stairs. Nothing's really going to be stockpiled there at the end of the night. Everything's going to be gone up in the Groton. That stockpile is if we had maybe a few pallets or a few brick hanging around. Nothing big though.
Do you anticipate having soil or sand or anything like that you need to have delivered to complete this project?
If it does, it will be in the back of a truck, and it will be scooped up and brought down to the spot. it needs to be done.
Okay. So what I'm understanding is there won't be stockpiles of
Nothing,
material.
nothing.
That's consistent with what we talked about the last meeting. And they're really, the only material being brought on site would just be a real minimum amount to raise the pavers on that patio area.
Sure.
Everything else is stonework, stone replication, or stone repair. So,
sure.
Yeah, I think we were pretty comfortable with the work that was proposed. It was just kind of crossing the T's on what
I understand, like last time after I got off the thing, I understand that after watching a couple meetings that you have to make sure that the people are on board on the way of the process being done, because some people don't listen and do it correctly. And I understand I will be here for every process of the application. It's not like I'm just going to hire someone and they're going to just do it, wing it, and I'm not going to be around, you know?
Your small excavator route?
It's going to go down there and we're going to slide the stuff down to the other. It won't go down to the lower part. It's probably just going to stay in the upper part, and it's going to lower the stairs down, and we'll move them from there by hand.
All right, that's what I was wondering.
I would like to make sure that there's a condition that says, and it sounds like, Mr. Bush, this isn't going to be confrontational, but a condition that says a small excavator doesn't stay on the water side of the structure overnight or otherwise unattended.
No. It's not even going to stay on the property. We're going to take it, get it out of here.
Okay, even better.
Yeah, I agree with that, Jason. The only other condition that I kind of thought about now should have been added to a sequence, but I don't think we actually talked about it, was any sort of repair work that excavator disturbs.
From the route?
Yeah, hopefully it's like rubber tire or rubber tracked and it doesn't cause a lot of problems, but if it starts to tear up the grass that's there.
Well, we're going to put we're going to be putting things. I've got a really nice lawn, so I don't really want it ripped up. So we're going to be putting mats down all the way down so that it doesn't really wreck my grass that much.
Even better.
Yeah, we love to hear it. That's perfect.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to wreck my grass, so I'm kind of like, So I want to have a path of the mats. They're the ones that the contractors use all the time.
Love this place.
Cool. The only other thing that I saw that looked like it wasn't addressed in last meeting was the timing of doing this work.
Well, I'm hoping now. I don't want to do it now because it's the middle of the summer, and I don't want to wreck my lawn and have it all ruined for the rest of the summer. So I'm looking at maybe probably September, October area, and that'll be better for us because that will it'll start moving the dirt. The water will start receding more, so we don't have any problems down there at all. It's already receded probably 4 or 5 feet off the areas, so nothing is in the water or anything at this time.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking for, is a condition that says that this is done such that the water line, the silt fence, is fully in the upland and not in the water.
It could be done right now, but we're going to wait till the fall or September area. Okay, but it can be done right now because right now the kids have a beautiful beach they play in.
Sure.
Chuck, when does the drawdown occur?
That occurs more in October, November.
Okay.
And it's the best. If you remember, we did a project down there for a boat ramp. It's the best right around Thanksgiving, but I really wanted to get it done a lot quicker than that. But last year it was probably out. It was down about 4 or 5 feet of water from high water mark, and it was way out. You could walk around the whole entire lake, and there was at least 10 feet of walkable area out.
So Chase, what do you want the wording of that to be, that condition?
I mean, what I would propose is that the wording say something like that the work is only to be done when there's sufficient space between the water line and the work area to install sediment and erosion controls well above the water line and be protective of, sediment discharge.
Okay.
I don't know.
Mhm.
Something like that. I don't think we need to confine it to a specific day, week, month, year, as long as the water conditions are conducive. However, Mr. Bush, should the water conditions change, our expectation would be that you would stabilize it and not actively be working in the water. I don't know. Let's say the water
Understood.
came up.
This project is not going to take long. This project's going to take a few days or maybe a week at the most. So, gonna be-
Commissioners, what else do we have? Anything else that I missed in the notes from questions that were outstanding?
No, not for me.
No.
It's about as straightforward a project as we've had.
when we did the project down the street also, we didn't leave anything on site, on the boat ramp project. There was nothing on site. We went in, did the job and out. There was nothing left on site. There was nothing stored on the site, nothing like that. So it's going to be similar to that one.
Okay. Think we're ready for a motion then?
I'll make a motion that the commission close the public hearing and issue an order of conditions for 31 Mattawanakie Trail, DEP file number. Oh, actually, I don't have it here. Tim, did we get one?
It's it was issued Friday, I think. 2041025.
That DEP file number with the previously mentioned conditions, and did we have a waiver associated as well? With associated waiver.
I'll second.
All right, roll call vote. Michael.
Michael Livingston, aye.
Kyle.
Maxfield, aye.
Ed.
Ed Foltz,
Carl.
Carl Melberg, aye.
Chase.
Chase Fairbank, aye.
Myself, aye. It's unanimous.
Okay. Very good. Good luck, Mr. Bush. Please
Thank you.
let Tim and Lauren know when you start so that they can come take a look if they choose.
No problem at all.
Thank you.
Yep.
We have a couple, just 3 minutes until our 97 and 99 Mill Road hearing. Maybe Kyle, do you want to? You wanted to talk about workers' credit?
Yeah, I noticed that the property adjacent to it, more towards the point, there's a like for lease or built to suit sign on it now. So I don't know. I kind of always assumed, and I thought we had talked about that never being an option. So I guess, Tim, keep your eyes open or your ears open. If something's, because I know I wasn't really involved with the workers. I kind of started, I think, in the back end of that, and that was a lot of what I remember.
Yeah, I'm not exactly familiar with this. It must have been before my time.
Yeah, it was very.
I assumed initially that workers was going to put. I thought they were going to put some type of ATM or something there. But there's, I think didn't we put a squared off area where they can work within? It is designated, or is it, do we actually put something structural squared off? It's definitely delineated where they can work.
Yeah,
and that whole, like, I guess what would be eastern side of the property, it's all but underwater half the year.
Exactly, it's always underwater when it gets wet.
Is it underwater though because of the highway, in which case it wouldn't be protected space?
It's all protected.
Is it all protected? Okay.
Yeah.
I wondered then how they.
It's like Beaver Brook leaking in there, right?
It's all protected. I think the consultant found the highest part of the.
Yeah.
They found the highest part of the property and, did a delineation around it. And
so how are they ever going to build another thing? I mean, there's definitely a for lease sign. You don't lease underwater, so suggests they're planning to build.
It's approved. I believe if you go back to the workers, when we approved that building or rehab of that building, we also approved that secondary lot or whatever at the same time. I'm not positive, but I think we did. I know it was delineated.
Okay. Well, that's certainly well expired at this point, even if you did. So
Yeah, I think what I'd like to ask, maybe Tim, this is a good job for Lauren to take on, to excavate those files and maybe circulate to us what was delineated and what was approved at the time, understanding that obviously the delineation is far too old to be relevant at this point, but then that's in the forefront of our mind, and then we can think about if we need to make sure anybody understands what their obligations are there. But we don't typically get involved in those transactions, but nonetheless, I think it'd be good for us to know what's going on.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, if we can dig that up and become maybe a little more conversant, since maybe outside of Carl and Andrew and Sarah, I don't think anybody else was here for it.
I think I did a site walk after when they were trying to get plants to stabilize and grow. That's the
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on to the 815 notice of intent for 97 and 99 Mill Road. If we could promote, do we have Dave? Yep, we have Dave. Dave, you can let us know who else you'd like to have promoted here.
Hey everyone.
Hey, Dave.
I should have Steve Byrne and Dan Sievers as panelists with me.
Very good. One thing I want to point out to the commission, with our documentation for this meeting, we received the applicant's response to Mass DEP comments. And perhaps, Dave, you or your team wouldn't mind to summarize that for those who maybe skimmed it and didn't read it word for word.
Yep. Dan, are you on? Dan was dealing back and forth with DEP.
Hello.
Hey there.
Yeah,
Sure. So, to recap kind of what happened since we last met, we had some comments back from DEP. We did a resubmittal, and then afterwards I spoke with Rebecca Gendro, who's a DEP agent, to go over some confusion that was happening. So clarified all of the confusion in regards to the surfaces out there that are existing and how we were basically how we would fall under a redevelopment. Tim Pearson was able to speak with her and kind of walk through what we did, which ended up, we basically instead of assuming all of the gravel on site in the general area was compacted and impervious, we basically assumed that it was not other than the clearly impervious milled and compacted asphalt at the entrance of the site, in addition to all the stockpiling areas. So we were able to basically prove that we're still reducing impervious area on site, that we do fall under redevelopment. And we also updated all the supporting documentation, that we meet stormwater standards, and if we didn't meet them, that we make them to the maximum extent practicable. There was also clarification that the site is located within the Zone 2 wellhead protection area. So that was revised and a note was added to the plan, as well as the stormwater checklist. I think that covers most of what we changed on the plan. Tim, can you think of anything else that you talked to with Rebecca?
No, you summed it up pretty good.
Okay.
I will note in reviewing that, Dan, I don't think you explicitly made this comment, but DEP, I think, noted, looking at historic aerials, they saw what looked to be vegetation and they questioned whether or not it was truly degraded. I think knowing that area the way that we do is very different than looking at it in an aerial. And I guess it never even occurred to me to consider it not degraded. So
exactly. Yes,
I'm comfortable with that. I appreciate what Mass DEP is saying, but having stood there and having seen that property for a long time, I don't disagree that even places where there's, a bit of vegetation coming up through Lord knows what, it
absolutely
was degraded. So, I also know that you guys had some things with the fire department outstanding. Do you guys want to give us an update on where that's at or what your time frame on resolving some of those questions are?
Yep, I can start this one off. Yeah, we have gone back and forth with the fire department. And we were discussing previously a hydrant location, which we've come to terms on. And then they really didn't have too much else to comment on at this point. Steve Byrne can follow up my comments, but we are going to provide them with sort of a fire action plan. Steve, I don't know if you want to dive further into that right now.
Yeah, we actually went back and forth with Deputy Chief Coffey, and we have a fire narrative, a hazard mitigation, emergency response plan, and Deputy Chief Coffey was actually pretty well versed on what his response would be, and it does depend on the situation, of course. But he had a pretty good idea, and he was looking for basically what I refer to as the fire narrative, which would include the hazard mitigation analysis, the emergency response plan, and how, essentially the owner operator, us, and the fire department would work together if there was ever an emergency response event. So he seemed very comfortable where we are. We would obviously need their sign off to move forward. So I think they know that, and that's what they're waiting for, the next steps from us. So they did not have anything outstanding. The hydrant, as Dave said, was the one piece, and then we owe him the rest of that permitting stuff as we continue along the progress.
Steve, I think given that the commission, my understanding of the commission's comments, and certainly my biggest concern is the emergency response pieces. I think the commission would probably benefit from seeing that documentation as well. Would you mind to share that with Tim so he can circulate it to us?
Yeah, the only thing we've sent to him so far is what we've used on other projects. So there'll be sites.
Oh, so this isn't a site-specific one yet?
Nope, not yet.
Okay. I think it would still be beneficial to circulate the generic one.
Sure. I can do that.
Dave, hopefully this got to you through Tim. I did have a question for you about permitting through the Energy Facility Siting Review Board and whether or not that is still forthcoming, or maybe we don't qualify because it's small enough. I was just curious how that unfolds, because I know sometimes they do put things through the ringer, and if they're going to substantially change this, we would probably want to know that.
Yeah. And yeah, we did get that from Tim, so I appreciate that. And I'll kick it over to Steve again. The system that we're designing right now does not meet the threshold for their review,
Okay.
unless for some reason a local commission requested it. Whatever.
Yeah, that's exactly right, Dave. So Chase, I think we're on the smaller side. I think the EFSB was really for the larger projects. So if you go on their site and see what energy storage projects are out there, it's hundreds of megawatts and hundreds of megawatt hours. So much larger scale in much different areas. And that was the reason why this EFSB was, essentially created, and the law went into effect, I think, earlier this year. But I don't think we qualify. At least that's how I've been, managing everything so far. And basically it's, anything over 100 megawatt hours, and we're, 20% of that.
Okay. I don't know one way or the other. Don't take my agreement to mean that you are or aren't, but makes sense to me anyway. Other commissioners, comments, questions on this? I don't know where we stand with respect to willingness to approve, but let's set that aside for a second and focus on the technical questions and concerns that we might still have outstanding. Oh, quiet room. Ed, did you have something?
No, I said I don't have any issues.
Okay.
Nor do I. I think we covered everything in the last meeting or so.
Yeah.
Okay. So I will say I am, my biggest concern has been the impact that this project would have in the event of an emergency response. I'm not
about that though, and I mean, you and I both raised it. Everybody keeps saying, you know, no problems, no issues, no need for anything to contain the water and all that other stuff.
It's true, and yet
understand that, but
in my professional capacity, I'm working on cleanups of battery energy storage facilities after fires, and so it makes me anxious.
yeah, and battery fires in general are terrible.
So I think the question, what I'm hearing is we don't have any remaining comments. Technically, I've asked for the hazard analysis. Me personally, I'd rather see that before approving it, but I would also defer to the wisdom of the commission. If everyone else is comfortable with it, then I'll put that in my pocket and we can go forward.
I think I'd rather see the plan first, Chase.
I'm not comfortable approving something if we still feel we need additional. Yeah.
Steve, do you? I know you said you have a generic plan. When would you have a site-specific plan?
Yeah, so let me just I can provide some additional details. The generic plan is for the project we did at Wellesley, which is, the first generation of the system that we're proposing for Littleton. So it's going to be very similar. There will be some things that'll be different, but I can send those docs to you guys and you can look through them. I mean, they're hundreds of pages. It's very, very detailed. But there will be some things in the Wellesley one because of the location. Then there's just different ways that the fire department, would want to respond based on the area. So, like I said, the Deputy Chief Coffey has thoughts on, how they would combat any sort of, thermal event there. It didn't sound like it, Dave, you can correct me if I'm wrong. It didn't sound like he was going to be looking to flood the area. It was really going to be a containment and cool the surrounding area if anything like that ever happened. But again, with the safety measures that are in place and the emergency management systems that are in place these days, if anything, starts to show any voltage or temperature changes, then, things are shutting down. So there's a real push in the industry, but I understand you guys want to see more. So I can send you those documents. I just wanted to kind of fill you in. We had a really good back and forth with Deputy Chief Coffey. So he was willing to write something and, state that he was okay with it. So
can I propose this and see what the commission thinks? In lieu of offering our approval tonight, and in lieu of going through an exhaustive discussion of what might be different between the plan, the draft plan we receive and the final plan, I would propose one or two of us meet with Steve and if Deputy Chief Coffey, if he's available, as an offline discussion so that we can understand a little bit more of the specifics and then report back. I would like to be a part of that. This is a concern that I have, but I think that would be a mechanism that I could get comfortable with it.
I'd be interested in that.
Dave, how does that work for you guys? I know we've been stringing this along for a little while, and I don't necessarily want to rush this through, but I'm also cognizant of the fact that we've been looking at it for a while.
That's okay. It's definitely the most important thing about this project, and that's completely reasonable. And we'd be willing to work with the commission, citizens, and the fire department to do what's right for the property.
Yeah, Chase, is this you may think this is delaying it, but this is actually probably making it smoother as things go along, to be completely honest. well.
Now
doing
you guys
the
are
same
just flattering
thing.
us, and that is
What was it?
I said now you guys are just flattering us, and I was
No,
going to compliment
I'm trying to be
your
serious.
board
I mean,
management strategy.
I'm a member of a board in my town, and you want to get the questions, you want to be able to satisfy them, because as soon as things start going sideways, then everything just gets worse. So this is being proactive is a good approach in my opinion. So.
And I think that's where I'm at, Steve. I want to be able to tell the community that we did as much or more due diligence than we, possibly could. It's one thing for a septic system. We know how those work, but.
And there's a lot of wetlands there downhill. So, but whatever gets.
And as Mass DEP pointed out, right, it is a wellhead protection area. And if anybody cares about that most, it's probably Dave, but we have secondary interest there too. So
yeah.
Okay, let's do that. I think we could have up to 3 people participate without posting a meeting. Would anyone else like to participate in that besides myself and Michael?
Be interested. I'd gladly step aside if there's a third that wants to step up. But
I'll let you guys handle that.
Okay.
Yep, I agree.
Tim, would you mind to coordinate that with the applicant and with the fire department and with myself and Kyle and Michael, and then we can try and understand maybe more of the specifics. Steve, if you could circulate that draft document to us sooner rather than later, that would have let us get familiar with it, and then maybe give us a few days to read, if not all of it, at least the pertinent parts of it, and then have a maybe more intelligent conversation with you all.
Okay.
Then Dave, we would ask your leave to continue this for 2 weeks to the 19th.
Sounds like a plan.
Sound good? Okay. Very good. Thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate your time.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, circling all the way back. So we've closed out.
See, Mark has his. Sorry, Chase. I see Mark has his hand raised. Mark Gallagher.
Oh, I apologize, Mark, if you've had your hand raised for a while.
Mark, I just permitted you to talk.
Hey, good evening. I was just wondering if you were going to now take us, because I know you had to do the public hearings first.
Yes, yeah, we're coming back to those.
All right, thanks, Chase.
Thanks, Mark. So we're going to go to enforcement order discussion, 04 Pond, DEP 204-0988. So Mark, I lied a little bit. You're next after this one. Can we promote Mr. Marsh? And I don't know if we need to promote any other folks. I think that's right. Tim, you want to give us the lowdown, give us an update, and then we can try and get this closed out.
Sure. I've got the revised plan that Steve, or not revised, but the plan that Steve has submitted. I'll be sharing that.
Okay. And Mr. Marsh, we'll let you give us an update, but we just want to hear from Tim first in terms of his understanding of the status.
Yep. So the plan that Steve submitted, it's got the location of the boat shed relocated. It was permitted to be right outside of the 50, and here it's shown to be outside of the 100-foot. Steve, I'm not sure this is to scale because I think the sitting area is a little closer to where the dock is showing. But
it's supposed to be the scale. I had them come out and shoot it.
Okay.
No, there was another plan that I gave you. This is just the draft. So there was another one that I sent to you. I don't know if you have that.
Okay, I don't recall receiving that, but do you have that you can share?
Let me look. I don't think I'll be able to get it. I'm not as well versed on the computer as you. I'll try to do it while you're giving the presentation, though.
I can run through my email if you want to just update the commission on what's been done since the last time this was discussed.
Okay, so basically what we've done is I've done everything that the commission has asked. I've had the arborist out. I've had the wetlands person out who has given me a way to rectify where the path is going to go. And what we've done is we've moved the patio area away from the water, and I've taken the boathouse out of the 100-foot out of your jurisdiction and moved it up. So originally that's what I had planned on doing anyway. You know, I know that we were concerned about with the amount of work that I had done there with regard to a disturbance, but if I built that boathouse, I'd be putting a concrete pad under it or sonotubes. Now we're not doing that. So we've reduced that disturbance area within your jurisdiction of the 100-foot by probably 50% by moving the boathouse out and moving the patio area, that little paver area, away from the water. So that's, like I said, I've done everything that the commission has asked. I'd like to get the enforcement order lifted, and then have you approve the amendments with me moving the boathouse out and, you know, putting the path in according to the wetlands specialist plan. And I think that would satisfy everyone. But we're doing less disturbance, ultimately.
Mr. Marsh, apologies if I'm missing something here. You said install the path in accordance with your wetland specialist plan. Is that something that has been, what does that mean? Is that something that's been shared with us and I'm just not recalling it, or I don't know what you mean?
Oh, so Sarah had requested at one of the last meetings that I provide the commission with a plan on the construction of the path itself. So what they've done basically is they said I have to take some of the duff from either side and then just place in the wood chips, which are on site. I'm ready to go. I can probably have that done in the day. And then the little patio area. Originally, I think we had talked about doing some, so if you take a look at that. So that restoration planting area, there's a number of plants that need to go in, and then I would take some of the existing tree litter and brush and put it in that 2-foot wide restoration. I don't have the exact wording, but that's essentially what it is. And then put the wood chips down where the 5-foot path is.
But you need to fill that in because that was dug down quite a bit.
No, I've already filled it in. It's already been done.
Proved that we asked them to do that after this first came up.
Yeah, we did that. Remember, I had to have the arborist come out, and then I had permission to cut the roots and then place the soil back, which I did.
And that's where you're at now. That's what the site looks like.
Yeah, that's exactly what it looks like. Yeah, we're pretty well stabilized. Like I said, I'm ready to go do the patio and put the wood chips in and do that. And I can do that in short order.
So I think the one thing that I don't see on the plan, I don't think it was in this package, is Sarah wanted to see an elevation kind of at the end of the area you've disturbed.
Yeah, so here's what I'm going to suggest. On the as-built plan, I'll make sure that what we do is we keep that where the wood chip path is, that it's down below the existing grade, and on the as-built plan, we'll show that.
Okay. Right. Yeah, so Tim, I guess maybe just make a note that we review that as-built before we give any sort of certificate of compliance.
Yeah, and then if you want me to
add
add
a condition onto the amended.
I'm still hung up on this draft plan versus finalized plan. Like,
well, this is the existing conditions. There should be. I did submit. This was just a draft for me to review that I submitted to Tim prior to me giving the thumbs up. It's the exact same thing that we have here. Only I have the stamped plan. You should have.
I only saw this one that was sent to me on the 29th.
Okay,
I
let me
wasn't
just,
seeing any.
let me see if I can send it to you right now.
Mr. Marsh, whether you send it or not, I want to be really clear. Like, I mean, we just dealt with this half an hour ago.
Right.
I'm not comfortable approving something unless we've had it and been able to review it. And I think we need the final plan here.
This is the final plan.
This says draft on it.
Right, but it's the exact plan, only I have the stamped one. And I did submit it, so, but it's this essentially the same exact plan. So what would you be holding me up on?
It essentially is doing an awful lot of work. I want to see the final stamped plan. I'm not approving anything until I see the final stamped plan, period. End of story. The rest of the commission can disagree with me, and that's fine. But until I see the final plan,
to do that, but
I don't have enough information to reach a reasonable opinion.
Have you been out there, Chase?
Yes, sir.
On the site?
Not in the context of this particular enforcement order, but yes.
Okay.
I think it's somewhat irrelevant whether he has or hasn't. As he noted that we dealt with in earlier this evening, a plan that we thought we understood and found that we apparently didn't. And this one says draft. So we can't approve a draft. We need to approve the right one.
Ed, if we could just hold on for a second. You approved something that was much more intrusive to the interests of the Wetlands Protection Act prior to this. I didn't cut any trees down. I went around the trees. I moved the boathouse. The boathouse was supposed to be down 65, like down close to the wetlands. The proposed sitting area was essentially right on the bank.
Well, Mr. Marsh, what you're talking me into is that we need a new filing by saying that. And I don't think that's the path that you want to go down.
No, I don't.
You're saying this is a completely different project than what we approved. You understand how that could lead to a reasonable conclusion that we just need a new filing and start over. Right?
I agree with you, but I would also say that in the interest of protecting the pond, this is a much better plan than what was approved, because we could always go back to the original plan, and then I'd be putting the boathouse down really close to the wetlands, which doesn't make any sense. We can achieve everything here.
I'm not sure anyone is arguing that this plan is better than the other plan. All we're saying is that we can't approve something that says draft. I think we're kind of all getting a little hot over that.
Okay, if that's the only issue, then I'll submit it. But I would still like to continue to well, you have no jurisdiction over the proposed where the boathouse is, so at least I could continue working with that, if that would be, unless you guys were opposed to it. But I'm outside your jurisdiction, so, and I won't be doing any work with, all I'll be doing, just for the record here, all I'm going to be doing for the rest of the project is to be basically putting the wood chips in and doing some plantings along the edge. So as long as you're not opposed to me continuing working, I actually tried to get onto the commission back in June to make these changes and propose these originally, so we didn't have to cut trees, and I was going to move the boathouse. Unfortunately, you guys didn't have a quorum a couple of times, and then I tried to stay exactly with the path is essentially in the same spot, only I've shortened it up. If you notice, that path originally went all the way down to the dock. We've shortened it up like, I don't know, at least 10 feet. So as long as you're not opposed to me continuing to work on the boathouse, I'm cool with it. I'll get you the stamped plan.
I will tell you, Mr. Marsh, I don't think we have an opinion one way or the other as to work outside of jurisdictional areas. I will note that is very close to jurisdictional areas. So to the extent that there's tree removal involved,
there isn't.
You use caution.
Okay, understood. I got it. Okay, so I can continue as far as you're not opposed to me. I also have the 100-foot mark.
You're not going to get us to say you can or can't continue outside of a jurisdictional area. All you're going to get us to say is it's outside of a jurisdictional area.
And that's all I need. Okay, great. All right, so I'll send you over the stamped copy. But like I said, it's not going to change other than the fact that it won't say draft on it.
Good, but for the time being, we understand that the enforcement order within the jurisdictional areas stands, right?
Okay, yeah, I'd like it lifted, but until you get that plan, all right, so put me on the next meeting and then I'll give you that plan.
Commissioners, any other comments on this? Okay. Well,
Chase,
I'm sorry.
real quick. Sarah did ask for the elevations, and I think if she sees this at the following meeting, she's probably going to want to. And I don't want this to be dragged out, another meeting because it doesn't have the elevations. Steve, is it possible to get the elevations on this plan?
Yeah, I don't see how necessary it is because I'm going to have to do an as-built anyway. You're going to require it, right? So, it's 6 of one, half dozen of the other. I don't see what the big deal is. If it's not right on the as-built, then you're not going to approve me.
Yeah, I kind of agree. It's kind of, I guess we could hold them to a proposed elevation. But
yeah, it's the only thing I've asked for so far. Short of.
I think we make it have to be a condition of, we're going to amend this order at some point in the near future, hopefully. I do agree. She's going to see that it's not there, but I'm hoping that that condition would appease her.
I'm sure.
If somebody else disagrees, speak up. I think that would. And she saw it too. She saw what it looked like out there. It's not going to be hard to keep the elevation below, to keep it down. We're not. It's not. And Tim, you went out there after he filled in with the native material, right?
Yeah.
Was it still lower?
Yes, it's still lower.
Right. So it would be hard to keep it to not stay below that elevation.
Yeah.
Because I also agree. I don't want to have to go another month, sit through this again next meeting just for her to say that and have him create another plan. So
that's where my head's at. Yeah.
Okay. So we're collectively okay with stepping back from that particular requirement to lift the enforcement order, not from a certificate of compliance perspective, but from an enforcement order perspective.
Fair enough.
Well, there was a question mark on that to Kyle.
Oh, all right.
I guess I didn't realize we were still talking of lifting the EO. I didn't think we were comfortable lifting the EO.
No. I mean, in 2 weeks' time.
In 2 weeks.
Right? What I don't want to do is, I think we all agree, extend this 2 more weeks, but we want to make sure that Mr. Marsh can show up with a firm understanding of what we are expecting in 2 weeks.
Yeah. I would think between what Tim has seen out there, adding a condition to the potential future amended order, that she would be comfortable.
Okay. So we'll add it as a condition, but we don't need to see it to lift the enforcement order once we have a finalized plan that we are comfortable with.
That's what I'm comfortable with. Yep.
Okay.
So one
of us is going to take heat from her. You know that, right?
I'll take it. Yep.
I'm sure I'll take it too.
But you are always going to take it.
Yeah, you're a lose-lose there, Steve. So.
Yeah, that's true. I agree. So can I not do? You want me not to do any work within your jurisdiction at this point?
That's correct.
Until Sarah sees that.
Until we lift the enforcement order.
Has been lifted.
Okay, fair enough. I gotcha. All right. Thank you very much.
Very good.
Thank you.
Take care. Okay, now we'll move on. Mr. Gallagher, appreciate your patience. We're going to move on to the enforcement order discussion for 33 Star Hill Road. Tim, you want to give us anything we need to know, and then we'll turn it over to Mr. Gallagher or his team.
Yeah, not much of an
Amber,
update.
could we promote? Oh, never mind. There goes Sue. Okay, thanks.
Not too much of an update on my end since last meeting. When I just updated the commission that that morning of our prior meeting, me, Amy, Lauren, Dave, Mark Jr., Chuck, Karen, we were all out there, and there was soil testing done in that questionable area. It did not have hydric soils, so the plan that was originally submitted by Places, that wetland delineation is what we're working off of. And okay. Those trees that were highlighted in that were confirmed to be the ones that were removed within the buffer zone.
Okay. Mr. Gallagher, floor is yours if you or your team would like to give us an update.
Okay. Good evening, and thank you for your time this evening, Mr. Chairman. As Tim has indicated, we had a meeting out on the job site, and there were no, I always say hydric soils that would be found as we initially, Dave Crossman and Chuck Karen were there. Chuck is the gentleman that we hired for the trees to make a determination of what trees were alive, which ones were dead, what trees we removed within the buffer. To note, we're not within the 50-foot buffer. We're talking about work on the edge of the 100-foot buffer. So we have staked the 100-foot buffer based upon the location of all of the wetlands that are on the adjacent property, because there are no wetlands on our property as we initially thought. However, we are obviously at the tip of that area within the 100-foot buffer on our side of the road. We've delineated all the way down throughout the forestry's property, both on the inside of the road as it veers along and the outside of the road, to ensure that this is not going to happen a second time. We are in the process of going to file an ANRAD with you for the delineation of all the wetlands that are within 100 feet of our property that we were asked to delineate. Amy was great. I think we've kind of buttoned this down. Chuck Karen, and I don't know if he's still with us this evening because he was available earlier, but he had a couple of other conflicting meetings this evening. But he wrote a letter to the board, which we provided last week when Tim asked for it. And Chuck speaks to the work that he did out there, the number of trees, the types of trees. He's made a recommendation that we remove the rest of the invasives from the property. He's spoken to the reason why we should remove those invasives. My knowledge, they're all outside of the 100-foot buffer. He has spoken to a restoration within the 100-foot buffer where we will allow nature to take its course. He's talked about the foliage that is there, the tree cover, and all of the reasons why, in his professional opinion, we should not go in and do any tree plantings and allow nature, as we did previously. He notes there's a lot of growth that's already occurred. And then he spoke about possibly doing some treatment to some of the existing stumps over the next year, which are for the invasives so they don't come back. That, in summary, is the work we would like. We would like to begin work outside of the buffer. And I listened, obviously, to the prior meetings and understand.
So we're not going to bless that or not bless that, right?
Yeah, no, I'm just not going to taunt you. So we're going to put the silt fence in. We wanted to wait. We wanted to do it 2 weeks ago, but we lost our time in our slot 2 weeks ago. So we decided to wait till this time. I think either tomorrow or Thursday, we're going to put the silt fence in properly. We have the chips on the site to tow it in, and we are going to work outside of the buffer. If you are in agreement with Chuck's work to the tail of the 100-foot buffer that we violated, then we would let nature take its course. We would hire somebody to maintain the invasives that are there. We'll remove the rest of the invasives that are outside of the buffer, and we'd like you to lift the enforcement order. However, I also understand, that you may want to wait and see what develops there, as we did on the prior enforcement order that we enjoyed together, which was a little more egregious, and see how that develops over time. We have no intentions of working, down inside the 100-foot buffer. So at this point, we're going to continue, as I said, to file an ANRAD, get it all taken care of. It is stable, and I think Chuck's indicated that he would advise of no work, but obviously that's up to the commission. And that's a summary of where we are.
I am here, Mark. So.
Oh, good news. You're able to join us. Happy. Then I don't have to repeat. Thanks, Chuck.
And I want to recount to make sure everybody's on board as well as the public. Mr. Karen, your recommendation was you strongly recommend against replanting. Looks like we had 37 stumps. 10 of those were either dead or nearly dead. 7 dead, 3 nearly dead. That left us with 27 trees, and 18 of them were Norway maples. So it sounds like what we're looking at here is, yeah, you summarize it, 9 living viable trees that were native species were taken out. 4 red maple, 3 American elm, 1 sugar maple, and 1 black cherry. Is that right?
Yep, that's right.
Is that right? Okay.
Yep.
So basically, sorry, go ahead, Chuck.
I was going to say, basically, you can see there's there's too much tree cover. If you plant under it, the trees are either, you're going to have poor survival or more likely just stagnant growth. But the ground in good part of that area was already covered with seedlings germinating and starting to develop. So I think rather it'd be much more productive to put the effort into keeping the invasives from coming back into that and letting that natural regeneration develop than to get into any extensive planting.
And I think that Chuck, thank you. It very clearly summarizes for the board the question we have in front of us. We had at least 9 native living trees taken out. The applicant's recommendation is that we allow it to vigorously regenerate naturally, and we need to decide if we're comfortable with that.
Hey, Chuck, do you know what's coming in for seedlings? Is it mainly the red maples coming in?
There was a lot of red maple. It was actually a huge amount of American elm.
Really?
It was surprising. And then there were some oaks, some cherries.
No, it's all right. So we do have hardwoods coming in.
I'm sorry, what's that?
That's good. So there's a bunch. Sounds like a good array of hardwoods
Yes.
coming in. I guess I don't have any problem with Chuck's recommendation if you already get seedlings coming in. Yeah.
I tend to get the mic whenever I want, so I have strong thoughts here, but I'm going to wait to see what everybody else has to say first.
I'll just say this is the first time I've heard that proposed since I started with the commission. On the surface, it makes sense to me, but like I said, it's the first time I've heard that.
Doing something for the sake of doing something seems unnecessary if nature's already doing the job for us.
I agree with that, with the condition that the invasives are controlled and don't take over if these don't have a chance to thrive. I think we treat this as the same as a replanting plan. If you're going to tell us that seedlings are growing, then I want to see in 3 years that they have developed to a viable tree. And if they haven't, then we are revisiting the replanting. I'm calling it replanting. It's not replanting, but we're revisiting this plan or this approach.
Yeah.
I would agree with that, Kyle. That makes sense.
Now I'm going to take
All right, Chase.
I am deeply concerned about the moral hazard of this. That what we would allow is removal of trees that we are very protective of, as Mr. Gallagher himself knows. And the resolution of it is nothing or very little. Certainly nothing in terms of even attempting to replant trees of a similar diameter of breast height. I'd like there are restoration requirements that we have imposed in other places where we've required 2 or 3 to 1 ratio of replanting, right? We haven't gone to the extreme of saying all of the diameter of breast height needs to be replanted, but other communities do, right? A 20-inch tree comes out, you need to replant 20 inches of trees. That's a lot, right? Like you probably couldn't actually get all that to grow safely. I am very, very concerned about the rationale behind this that simply says areas of this nature regrow. So if someone cuts it down, we just and I'm being hyperbolic here, but we ignore it and we just let it grow back because it does come back over time. And that's universally true it's some infinite time frame. Right?
That's how temperate forests work.
Hang on a second.
That's the science that if you open a forest up in the temperate zone, especially in New England, you get a massive influx of regeneration, either new seedlings developing or seedlings that were there and small before are then freed to grow. I mean, that's how every forest we have originated. It's how every managed forest functions. And Mr. Karen, I'm not arguing with you that over time it will regenerate. What I am disputing is that as it exists today, it's fulfilling the same ecological function that it was fulfilling 6 months ago. I would say it's fulfilling a better one right now. We have fewer invasive species. We have less Norway maple. We still have a full canopy over that site. And you're developing with the invasives control, we're going to be developing a more natural understory that is beneficial for the wildlife, beneficial for the soil conditions, beneficial for runoff rates when you have native vegetation.
So I'll agree with you until you said there's a full canopy over the site, and I would like to put in for now, right? Mr. Gallagher just said that he is submitting an ANRAD and is immediately going to be installing silt fence to delineate the 100-foot buffer so he can proceed with work outside of our jurisdiction. So what's to say that in 2 months, when he starts doing whatever the work is that he's going to be doing, that canopy remains?
Chase, is one of your concerns that are we setting a precedent?
Yes. That's precisely it.
That is a fair concern.
I would argue, Chase.
I would argue there's a moral hazard to requiring planting of trees in an area where they will not grow. You're going to take good-sized nursery stock and put them in almost full shade that they're not adapted to, and they're going to die. Or they're going to sit there and you're going to go back in 10 years and they've grown 6 inches.
You'll notice in most of our replanting
punitive, you should come up with something else punitive. If that's your fear.
Chase, we didn't go in with the idea of clearing inside the buffer.
Mark,
we've already had that conversation.
100%. I'm good with that.
Hold on. Okay. We went in to remove the invasives, which we did throughout the entire property. Now we stopped outside of the buffer. You didn't ask me what work we were going to do outside the buffer. You just assumed we're going to do development work. We've not finished our job, which is clearing the invasives. We stopped because of the enforcement order. And then when we came in front of you, it was discussed that we would forego any work on that side of the property for the simple reason that we could not establish where the 100-foot buffer was because there was some conjecture that there was wetland plants on our side of the road, which would push the buffer, back significantly. We then spent the money to find all of the wetlands on the forestry property. We're going to file an ANRAD so we don't have, not know where the jurisdictional area is or isn't for the future. The work outside the buffer, you don't control under any circumstances. And we did, down in that corner, we did violate the 100-foot buffer, probably for 10 or 15 feet. And we did remove what Chuck has said. But I would argue that you set a precedent at every single one of your meetings. I've had the enjoyment of sitting through a myriad of meetings over the years, but more importantly, over the last couple of months. And, in each enforcement order, you set a precedent, whether it be looking at plans where footings are put in and arguing whether they were on the plan or not on the plan, people that have gone and clearly gone, overboard with clearing and pathways, and then provide a very limited amount of bushes. You set a precedent by accepting those plans. You're a flexible board. You don't have any one, set of rules and regulations that you follow, i.e., you cut down a 20-inch tree, you replace it with 20 inches more, whatever. And I think what one of the other members of the board said earlier is it's a 3-year window. If 2 years and 6 months from now, you're not happy with it, and we need to go in, I think we should discuss that now, because I don't want to come back in 2 years and 6 months and then have you say, well, our entire process has changed and you need to put in 255 inches of trees. I think if you're concerned about Chuck's approach, we can backstop it. We've been reasonable throughout this. We made an error. We want to be good about it. But if you allow Chuck's process to unfold and it works, you're not necessarily setting a precedent. Every single enforcement order, every single ANRAD, every single order condition that comes in front of you is different in some way, shape, or form. So I don't think anybody can seize on this, because you'd have to say, okay, is it all the same? Were there invasives? How many trees were cut? How many were dead? How many were invasives? We get down to 9 trees, not pissing on 9 trees. What I'm saying is backstop it if you're concerned that, 2 years from now, we come back. If what's promulgated to grow grows, then no harm, no foul. Chuck's plan worked and we're all good. If it didn't work, let's agree on 9 trees that you'd like to have planted, or 18 trees, and we'll take the risk that Chuck's plan is going to work. I just want to get out from under this and not, I live in town. We're obviously embarrassed this happened. We understand it was a mistake. We just want to be done. I don't want to waste a lot of your time. Pick a path and we'll follow you.
I think it's important to point out here, if this had been cleared, completely stripped of trees, my answer would be completely different and would be recommending some planting. Because the trees would then be in the open, they would grow, and we'd get bigger trees quicker if we started with some bigger plantings. But in this case, we have, like I said, virtually a complete overstory still. We still have the tree cover. So I think my approach makes more sense in this situation, which isn't typically when you have an enforcement order for clearing, someone stripped every tree off an area.
So, I think you all know where I stand. As you all know, I'm not remotely worried about being on the minority side of a vote here. I remain concerned about the moral hazard component of it.
And Chase, did Amy weigh in on this at all, or was she just involved in the delineation?
No, she didn't weigh in on the restoration proposed.
Okay.
So I think the question in front of us is it's really not that complicated, right? It's, do we as a commission want to accept this as a plan or not?
So what size are the seedlings that you see coming in, Chuck?
Sorry, I didn't hear that.
I'm sorry, what size are the seedlings that you're seeing coming in?
Right now they're a lot of them are pretty small. You know, some of them are this year's germination. We've had that heavy acorn crop, so we've got a couple-year-old oaks coming along. You know, so what's there now is small. No,
yeah.
Excuse me, Tim.
I will note that. Oh, I'm sorry, Mark. Go ahead.
Tim, can you promote David Murray?
Yeah.
As a panelist, I apologize, Chase and other members of the board. I have to leave. I have a 9:15 conference call with people overseas. So David Murray is my partner, and if you could, is he still on, Tim?
He is.
Can you promote him as a panelist, and he can just take my spot?
Yep, he's rejoining now.
Okay. All right.
Apologies that we weren't able to get to this earlier,
I'm
Mark.
going to depart. Thanks, Chase.
Good night, Mark.
Good
Can
night.
I just make a point, Chase? Excuse me. This is Sue Carter from Places. In this case, your 50-foot no disturb zone was not touched. This was basically between 75 feet and the 100 feet, and it was separated from the wetlands by an existing stone wall that's the property line. So I understand your concern about setting a precedence, but in this case, it's in the outer reaches of the 100-foot buffer. It wasn't the 50-foot buffer like we had happen on Ipswich or other places. So in terms of our precedence, I don't think it's as much of a precedence as if we violated your 50-foot or even the BVW itself. So I think in this case, we'll be able to monitor to see what's going on with that.
I appreciate what you're saying, Sue. I think you're unlikely to convince me, but perhaps my colleagues you are. I will rebut it with this. You know, one of the interests under the Act is wildlife generally. And as we've discussed with Mr. Gallagher, and I think you were on the call too, I think we've historically even considered the removal of the 10 dead trees or dying trees to be significant impacts to wildlife resources.
I was thinking the same thing, Chase, before you said that.
And so, Sue, while we certainly do have let's say, a sliding scale of our perception of potential impact to BVW based on distance, we've historically not taken a particularly nuanced view, whether it's 25 feet or 50 feet or 75 feet, particularly when it comes to trees. What I would like to note to my colleagues is if you're comfortable going forward with Mr. Caron's plan, and I understand that, I do think we should make it clear what we expect to see in 3 years' time. So by my math, if we take away the Norway maples, and I think give the applicants credit for the invasive species work that they've done, there's still 19 trees that were either dead and decaying or native. And my argument would be that in 3 years' time, we should have at least 19 viable trees growing in that footprint, as evidenced by a monitoring program at the end of the third year.
We're obviously not going to have, the size
of course
we lost. And I agree with you. I was thinking before you mentioned the dead trees, I was thinking the exact same thing. They weren't dead. We have no idea because they're not there anymore. But a tree that's dying or is dead and still standing is a valuable tree. I mean, they're extremely valuable for wildlife and birds. Snags, are very valuable. So I agree, Chase, that that's a loss. And I'm starting to head your direction more.
Listen, I get it if we decide that we want to go this way. The logic in what Mr. Caron has put forward, I'm probably not going to support it. It's fine if I'm in the minority. That's just the way it goes.
How about instead of it being one way or the other, you're saying let's look at it at 3 years, and I'm feeling like it's too long. We look at it a year and a half or 2 years, and what that does is it says if Mr. Karen's plan didn't work to our satisfaction, now we still have a year or a year and a half to have the adjusted plan put in place and still have time to ensure that they grow. You know, if you do it at 3 years, we're done. You know, we've done the 3 years, and if they plant trees and they don't grow, well, oh well. If you do it shorter, you know, and check, then
I think that's a wise thing to do, Ed, to put some performance standard on this plan.
Yeah.
I'm a little worried. We know that the property is going to be sold because he's already told us that. So they have a bond.
Enforcement though go with the new owner?
I don't know. I'm worried that I'm worried that we'll I'd kind of rather now I'm kind of leaning towards Chase's side and get the.
Well, again, I'm going to talk my way out of something that when someone's agreeing with me, but the way we have handled things like that in the past is that we have asked the property owner to provide us with some sort of formal legal certification from whoever purchases it, whatever the lawyers want to call it, an affidavit, something like that, acknowledging their receipt and understanding of what their restoration plan is. And we've required that in other places.
Is that make a suggestion? Do we have any legal authority to the new owner? I hadn't thought about.
Why don't we?
It was going to be sold. If we don't have any legal authority to enforce this after they sell it, they take their money and run, so to speak, then I am totally of a different mind.
Why don't we do an order of conditions? We're going to have an
enforcement order would stay. Come on, is with the property. It doesn't matter who owns it. They're still subject to it.
It's going to hang on the deed until it's lifted, and we won't completely lift it until they've met the restoration requirements, and that rides with my understanding, right?
Jason, I'm not sure it does.
Can I make a suggestion?
Okay, so hang on one second, David. Sorry. Then I'm back to let's use a year and a half or something like that, and
I can't speak.
No, you can speak. I just was already talking. So
I'm sorry. Why don't we, if we're going to be doing an ANRAD, why don't we just do an order of conditions for that piece of property? And under the order, we monitor for 12 months the growth of those trees that need to be replaced, or that are the seedlings that are growing. So we have a vehicle, which is the order conditions, and one of the orders is the subject to tree growth. That way, it goes on the title. It's on the deed. If something happens, it's there. It's an order of conditions, and it doesn't get released until the commission releases it.
And Chase, I want to clarify. I don't believe the enforcement order is tied to the title, because they don't have to get that recorded at the registry of deeds like they would an order of conditions.
Correct.
Which I think is David's argument for formally doing this through a notice of intent and order of conditions. Yeah.
That gives the commission some protection.
I still don't like any of it. What I'm trying to do is understanding that I'm in the minority here, trying to find a path that I think is the least likely to fail.
Yeah. So you just use the word that I want to push back against you a little bit here with your plan, or I guess we haven't really heard your plan yet, but I would assume that your plan would be a replanting. You create a replanting plan, whether it's shrubs, trees, whatnot, which would require our standard 3-year, monitoring period. Monitor every year until 3 years, and are we there? Are we at a percentage, right? What do you do in 3 years when you haven't met that percentage?
Well, that's what the order of conditions would.
I want Chase to answer that question.
No, I'm just throwing stones here. No, listen, I fully recognize that there are challenges on both sides. My fundamental concern with the plan that Mr. Karen has put forward is not his underlying science. It is, as I stated, the moral hazard piece of it. that I really, really am worried about saying, yep, we took out a bunch of trees, but it'll be fine. And we just have to be really careful if we're going to do that.
Haven't we answered that though, Chase? If we let it go as is with whatever the legal stuff is, and I'm not good in that space, and we say in 1 year, because David suggested a year, I like that. In 1 year, we reevaluate. Is the plan working? Then we let it go another year. If it's not working at that point, then we require the plantings that we would have required. Now, doesn't that kind of address everyone's concerns? We're not just saying you cut them down, slap on a wrist, goodbye. We're saying you cut them down. We understand the science of what we're being told. We'll give it a chance. If it doesn't work, then it's more than a slap on the wrist. And
Yeah. And I understand the precedent that you're worried about setting, Chase. And I think my argument to that has always been every hearing we have is different, right? There's no apples to apples. Right? So we have the prerogative, we have the ability to not change our mind, but view each situation in a different light.
Mm-hmm.
That's how
I couldn't agree more with you on that, Kyle. I do not think any particular decision we make is precedential, and yet when it's beneficial to an applicant, it does get tossed back at us.
You always have the authority to go back and do another enforcement. If it's not growing, you can always come back in and say, hey, listen, you got to do some corrections here. We can have Chuck go out there and give a plan. We're never taking away your ability to do that.
So I would like.
Already said you're selling the property. The only way I'm comfortable with that is if it's legally enforceable.
Yeah.
So you want to see an order of conditions at
If
something
that's-
that rides
if that's
with
what
the
makes
deed?
it
I think that's the
enforceable
easiest
on the
way to
deed,
do it.
yes.
I would like to see something from. I mean, we're talking about Chuck's plan, but Chuck hasn't really presented a plan. He's just said leave things as is. I would like to see a plan from Chuck that actually states, how big these trees need to be, what the diverse population. I mean, in diversity of trees is. Something we definitely need to have targets similar to if we had planted, like what size of tree would we have asked to be planted in there?
I don't.
Well, Chuck already did a plan, right, Chuck?
I didn't include any performance standard in it. I just, we're not going to have 1-inch diameter trees in 3 years or anything approaching that, but we could have 10,000 foot high seedlings or 2 foot high seedlings.
I think what we would look to is there sufficient density and is there sufficient diversity to indicate likely long-term success in 3 years?
Yeah. Oh, and so we keep saying 3 years. I threw that number out there as a standard number. I feel like if we think that we need longer to show that these trees will be viable, right? If 3 years isn't a long enough time to show that a sapling is going to be a viable tree, then maybe 3 years isn't the right number. I'm not an arborist. I don't know what that is, right? So
Chuck,
if
will
you're
you be able to tell in the
year-
first year if this is progressing?
I think it's more a number of trees you have in this type of situation.
I mean, you might have over competition too of trees, Chuck. If you get huge amounts of trees, seedlings all trying to grow at the same time, some aren't going to make it.
That's again the natural process. You disturb a forest completely, and you can have 1 million or more seedlings per acre, and at the end of as those trees get mature, you could be down to 50 trees per acre. There's always a huge amount of mortality in that natural process.
And I think one of our interests is not creating a monoculture with what does survive.
Which doesn't seem to have happened originally. I feel like I wouldn't expect that to happen again if it wasn't already the case, but I guess we won't know until.
I think a lot of the key to the success of this is if we get rid of the invasives. That's the problem. A lot of the vines, a lot of those invasives are taken over. So if we can remove those, I think it'll give the seedlings a good chance to survive.
Chuck, how many of those seedlings are Norway maple seedlings?
I didn't see that many when I was out there. I'd be shocked if we don't end up with a lot though. So I mean, that's part of the invasives control is getting rid of the Norway maple that comes along.
So it sounds like. Oh, I'm sorry. So it sounds like instead of filing an ANRAD, we can go ahead with an NOI with maybe phased approach. Initially removing the existing invasives, management plan for that. First year monitoring of the trees that are existing on site, growing up. We'll evaluate their performance and then just kind of tailor it from there. Does that sound?
So outside of the, there are these trees around in the seedlings that will have the natural growth. They're within the 100, correct? So I'm just trying to get a sense for if this property gets sold, the person that buys it, if it's going to be a horse farm or whatever it's going to be, there'll be no activity within that area, correct?
That's correct.
And Carl, I do like this idea of an order of conditions because I think we could condition that.
Exactly.
Again, I don't like any of this, but if we're going to do it, I like the order of conditions as a way of memorializing it. And I also think if we include in the order of conditions a performance standard at some period of time, even if it's semi-quantitative or even qualitative, right? Like, there's no point in someone going out and counting a number of 18-inch saplings. But do we have robust coverage? Do we have moderate coverage? Do we have bare spots? Right?
I think Chuck. I think we could have Chuck do a monitoring plan with a series of transects that he monitors over the first year, and then uses those same transects he could monitor for several years after, just so we can see what's going on. But I do think we have to have some type of monitoring plan.
So what I would propose is this: before we write this plan with Chuck, we let them go back to the drawing board. We don't lift the enforcement order, but we express a willingness to lift that enforcement order once we have a notice of intent and an approved order of conditions.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
Makes sense.
Okay. Chuck, any questions that we can answer for you to help get closest to the finish line with the first draft?
No, I think I understand where you're coming from. Even if I disagree, I think I know what you're looking for at this point.
Okay. I think an important piece of what you propose will be the performance conditions. How do we know that we've succeeded?
Yeah, I need to put some thought into that. I'm going to look at, DCR has guidelines on what is sufficient regeneration after a cutting to be acceptable. I can't remember that number off the top of my head. So
that's great.
Look at that, and we could tie that into some
absolutely
coverage or density along with that.
Okay. I do think for the applicant's sake, we should take a straw poll on our willingness to lift the enforcement order. What I don't want to do is go down the pathway of, yep, this is the plan we go, and then we find out that it turns out nobody wants to lift the enforcement. I think they deserve certainty, or at least as much as we can give them in a straw poll. Yeah. David, is that?
We appreciate that.
Okay with you we're going to take a straw poll. We're not going to lift the enforcement order. There's nothing binding about this. We can change our mind, qualifier, but I would like to give you some meaningful direction here.
Right. That sounds good.
Okay. Let's do that then real quick. This direction involving an order of conditions, performance standards, and lifting the enforcement order. Are we supportive of that or not supportive of that? Andrew, you want to go around?
Sure. All right. Straw poll, roll call vote. Michael.
I'll support that.
Kyle.
I would also support that.
Ed.
I support that.
Carl.
Carl Melberg, I would support that.
Chase.
I still don't like it.
And I would support it. So, Dave, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 that would be willing to lift the enforcement order under those conditions, and 1 that would not.
Keep in mind though that at least in my case, I'm willing, but I need assurances that legally the property is bound to being protected. Yeah,
Well, that's what the order.
I'm really not a fan of developers. So you're going to sell it. I want to make sure that you're going to take your money, but somebody still has to be out.
Well, that's what the order of conditions will do. That gets recorded, and it's a blemish on the deed until it's clear.
Right. So it's on the registry. That's fine.
And one of our standard special conditions is that if a property gets sold, and I will admit this probably rarely gets abided by, if a property gets sold, the new owner is supposed to be attending the following Conservation Commission meeting to essentially get up to speed on what they're required to do under that order of conditions.
Absolutely.
And in this circumstance, I would beef that up a little bit to say that we want written confirmation from the property owner that they signed from the new property owner acknowledging receipt. I don't want any like, oh, we didn't know because it was in the
cracks. Yeah.
6-inch deep
They don't
stack.
read the deed. They're not going to read that close.
Well, I'm sure their lawyer will know when they do the research the deed and find out, oh, is there order of conditions here?
Yep. Wouldn't be the first time the actual property owner didn't, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. I think we've got a resolution to this, or at least a path forward.
Okay. Great.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for the time.
All right.
Thanks,
Thank
Chuck.
you.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Very good, Joe.
Thanks.
Okay, coming back to our agenda. Discussion boats and unpermitted docks. Tim, you want to take this one?
Yeah, so kind of divide this into boats and docks. The boat aspect was we had a report that there was a boat just kind of parked on the shore of Long Lake, kind of right at the end of Beach Drive. It has since been removed. So that's that. That's why that was on the agenda, because at the time it was still there when the agenda was posted.
I mean, you're saying that they basically grounded it instead of having a dock?
Yep. The other part of this was with the docks. We've been getting an increase in the amount of complaints, people calling in, and this is specifically relevant for the parcel. What is it? U12-14-0. So it's our property, and it runs from Beach Drive all the way down to Aspen. Perfect. You're sharing it, Chase. It is under our care, custody, and control. We've been getting the increase in complaints about people saying, we asked, we live across the street. We've asked if we are allowed to put up a dock there, and we've been told no, because it's town property. Our neighbors, one of our neighbors has put up a dock there since, and there's nothing being done about it. And so I wanted to bring that up and see what you guys thought and what the path forward would be on this, because we are getting them more frequently.
If someone's putting a dock that's not on their property, it should be removed.
So there, to my knowledge, are quite a few of these docks that have been there for some time.
Just in this photo, there's 4, I think. 1, 2, 3, 4. There's also something moored out in the water, a play structure, things like that. There's a couple more over here that I think are a little hard to see.
We don't.
Particular image. There's one over there.
Yeah. Do we have I'll say a policy, it's a little strong, for play structures? If somebody puts one of those big water bouncy things that where you can climb up and jump off of it. Do we have any standard on that?
Are those anchored to the bottom? Then they should be. They should be permanent. If they're touching the lake bed, then it's considered land underwater bodies and waterways, and they should have.
That trampoline has been anchored out there for as many years as I can remember.
Yeah.
So why wouldn't we be trying to enforce something then? Or what am I missing?
And that's kind of why we're bringing this up.
Nobody's brought it up yet. This is the first time.
Like,
okay, okay.
Nobody wants to wade into that. If you'll excuse.
Yeah,
the,
no, I
the
get
pun.
that. It's kind of like what happened with Casey, where we made him whatever the word is, fix the property, but his neighbor 30 years ago had made a nice oasis because we didn't have the requirements in place at that time. Does this fall into that same thing? It was put in before we had the requirements, or is this one of those, as the title says, unpermitted? Therefore, now we're going to enforce the rules.
I think there is a distinction to be had here in that this is not just unpermitted historically on their private property. This is all town land. Right,
So
like
trespassing at this point, right?
Yeah, the entirety of the land between Lakeshore Drive and the lake is town owned, not privately owned.
Mm-hmm.
And we're inadvertently creating winners and losers by ignoring some and telling people that ask. No, there's talk about moral hazards, right? Like,
sure.
I will note the one exception to that is on the corner of Aspen, where that section just recently transferred over to the town. If you're looking at, it's towards the bottom left, Chase. Of that little strip.
Right, because I wanted to put the ADA path
Exactly.
through.
And I think that just went into effect, was it last year or something? Whereas previously that dock was on their property, determined by the land court decision. But for the rest of that property, that's what Chase said is applicable.
So the question is,
always been ours.
Do we be the bad guys and have them?
If we're not,
remove the docks, I'm assuming.
Every landowner back behind there is going to be like, okay, I'm putting a dock out there.
Yeah, no,
Right, you have
I'm not
200 docks.
advocating that we ignore it. I'm asking the question of, is that where we're headed? It feels like maybe it is.
I don't think we have a choice.
Yeah, I would agree. The fact that they're putting it on town land, if I were to put up a tree house on town land, I'd be told to take it down. That's kind of no different.
I think we, as a commission, might make a recommendation to the select board. I think we also, or at least we want to let them know. I also think we should have a discussion with town council about how this unfolds.
I totally agree. I don't think this is something we dive into and contact each dock owner. I think we have to choose our path very, very clearly.
Yeah.
I would agree.
Oh, sorry.
I'm sorry. Can you guys hear me? So the other thing I might point out too is, aside from docks, there are actual structures on these strips of land as well, including parking areas. I think there are some seating areas. So once we're kind of bike racks. So once we're down this path, it's going to get pretty heavy.
So essentially, we're talking about remediating conservation land back to conservation land.
Potentially.
I mean, Andrew, you wouldn't want me to put a bike rack in your front yard, right?
No.
And not to be like so blunt, but I think that's the way it has to go, right?
Yeah.
It's not going to be an easy path. I agree with that. It's going to be difficult, and it's going to be trying. It'll be difficult.
And there are going to be some very unhappy people.
Of course.
But like you said, they don't own the property. And if we're not careful, they will own the property through adverse possession.
So luckily they can't do that against the town, but still not a good situation.
Yeah. So is talking to town council to make sure that we do it the right way and letting the selectmen know, because we're going to be ruffling feathers. Is that the thinking?
That's my rationale.
Okay.
I want to do this in the full view of everyone. If we're gonna do this, let's just be straight and open about it.
Yeah, no, I absolutely, and it's not. They're right. It's not fair if we tell somebody they can't do one, and they, it's kind of what happened to what was the gentleman tonight, where he said the tree came down on his neighbor's shed, and when we were there, we found out about his, and it also happened over at across the street from me when we were the cottages. We were there checking out one, and we found another. Well, how is this any different than that? Of course, I wouldn't want to be the one being told I have to take it out.
And it might be helpful too to maybe bring the Long Lake Neighborhood Association officers in to kind of bounce this off of as well as we kind of dive into this.
So maybe here's what I would propose we do. I would propose that 2 weeks or 4 weeks from now, we have an officially posted public hearing to take public input on how we manage the existing structures that are on town land under the care, custody, and control of the Conservation Commission on the shores of Long Lake. When we do that, we make sure that we, prior to that, have informed the select board that we're going to have, it's just a hearing. We're not making any decisions, but we do want to get feedback and input on that. We will inform the select board. I think we also want to understand from town council what the process would be to remove or not remove or notify people of those. Then we get the feedback from the public 2 or 4 weeks or whatever it is. And then we schedule another meeting to discuss it, potentially vote on taking certain actions. I think tonight, Tim, you're just looking for taking temperature, right? Because it wasn't a posted vote. So we want to be clear about where we are and are not.
Does part of this include notifying the abutters?
That's where I was going.
It feels like it does.
I would imagine. I mean, if posted as a public hearing, Andrew.
Yeah, so if it's a posted public hearing, it's going to require the same level of abutter notification than any other public hearing that we would typically post.
It's a lot.
It's a lot of abutters, but
a lot of abutters.
What I wouldn't want is someone saying they were blindsided. They didn't see the hearing.
Right. The select board has already gone through that of being accused of stuff like that. So I don't want to follow
if it costs us $1,000 to send notices, then that's what it costs.
Yeah.
It's a price worth paying to ensure that everyone feels comfortable that they were fairly heard and the process was above board.
So maybe it's certainly not 2 weeks out then. Maybe it's not even 4 weeks out. But right, but sounds like the general thought is that we move in that direction to at least gather public input, gather community organization input, gather select board, and maybe even Park and Rec Commission input, right? This has certain implications for them as well, given that the rest of the lake access is through their property they have care, custody, and control over. And then we schedule a public hearing on it.
Doesn't this bring in the whole situation with the O'Neills and they being accused of expanding their property into the town land?
I was thinking the same thing, Michael. The people that said they were taking advantage of us.
I mean, I think it's the same fundamental concern. I think my understanding of that is that it's occurring on a different side of the property line than it is here, but it's the same fundamental issue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would propose then, Tim, maybe in 2 weeks you can report back on what that process would look like. Like how many people would we need to notify? What would the timeline be? If you can come up with essentially a schedule for us.
Yeah.
Hey, we'd notify people on this date. We'd have a hearing on this date. We would potentially meet with the select board on that date. And then I would suggest in the intervening 2 weeks, we ask the town administrator for leave to meet with town council to talk about what this looks like and get any other input from them on what the process should entail.
Do you guys want to be involved in that discussion with town council, or do you want me to just have that conversation with them and Lauren?
I think someone should be from the commission.
Okay.
We should have somebody around.
Just make sure you and Lauren, don't go crazy on us.
Yeah. We wouldn't want that.
And then we can have a discussion 2 weeks from now. And what does the process look like?
That all sounds good.
Yeah. Any other comments on that before we move on to the very last item? Which was, so many sticky notes. 2 items, 58 Hartwell and Powers Road. Ed, you were looking for an update on Powers Road. Tim, do you have anything on that, or
I do actually. Was it last week? Either last week or the week prior, John actually reached out and he had removed the objectionable fill on the slope and at the top of the slope as well. And he didn't have erosion controls at the bottom. We asked him to get those out there as soon as possible. Because that's part of his restoration plan is to have erosion controls at the toe of the slope. But we said, once you have those erosion controls down, you have the green light to continue with the restoration plan and working with Matt Morrow.
I did see a row of big rocks. That one appeared to be the end of his driveway?
Yes. So he's got those along the top of the slope right now. And he the way he pitched it to us was, it's kind of memorializing. All right, nothing is going to happen, beyond that point.
So as they're staying, they'll be there permanently.
I have to go back and look at the plan. I know he had boulders proposed on some part of that property in that general area. I don't know if it was exactly there, but I think he was open to, if the commission didn't want him there, asking him to remove it, and he would be open to that.
Okay.
How did the fill look? Let's get to the real.
Like overall, it looked like he got the majority.
So it was just something that was superficially dumped, and I was definitely a little concerned that it was more extensive and
just keep digging, take out the whole slope.
Yep.
Does he have a completion date of some kind?
That I'm not sure of.
He tends to drag this out. So
yeah,
I'd like to see it done before we go to the winter.
Yeah, I'm not sure we had, because I think, was it Matt originally proposed doing that work back in, was it April? But that got pushed and we had a bunch of rain this spring, and I think that's why it got pushed. And it took John, I don't know, John had an injury, and then it took him a while to get this work done. I mean, I could certainly ask if he's willing to come back to the commission just to talk about a timeline on these things.
I'd rather you just ask him to write down what the timeline is.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. Sure. Yeah. And I can provide you guys an update.
Yeah.
That's fine. I just want to see it moving to completion. That's all.
Gotcha.
Forward progress.
Or what?
Forward progress.
Yes. Definitely, yes. Always moving forward. Thank you.
Okay. Tim, last up is you on 58 Hartwell.
All right. I'm going to share some pictures here real quick. And
just to be clear, Tim, you're just looking for some general guidance on 58 Hartwell. We'll see it officially in a couple of weeks.
Correct. Yep. So they put in their request for certificate of compliance, although it was after the meeting got posted, so we couldn't get it on for this meeting anyway. It was going to get pushed no matter what. We went out there to do the final site inspection, and we noticed that this hill. So for this project, the order conditions, almost all of the the project was within our buffer zone was grading. And it's this slope right here, and what you're seeing is stump grindings. In the plan, the notes say that any disturbed areas are going to be revegetated. And obviously this is not revegetated. So it was kind of a question of their position was that this slope was too steep to revegetate. And they wanted to get the certificate of compliance was just leaving this stabilized with stump grindings. And I had spoken to Amy about how this has this been done in the past, and she said, to her knowledge, it was never seen as like a permanent stabilization method good enough to sign off on or issue a certificate of compliance. But it had been used, frequently or often for people who are looking to do temporary stabilization. So I guess the real guidance I'm looking for is, when this comes in front of you, are you okay with issuing a certificate of compliance for stump grinding, stabilizing a slope, or are you looking for it to be vegetated as it was proposed and approved in the plan?
I'd say vegetated as approved. I agree. Stump grinding's on a permanent solution.
Okay.
Didn't we just say that earlier with, I forget the property, but essentially he put stump grindings and it was mentioned that that's a short term at best.
Yeah. Their reasoning for this was that it's in their words, not mine, too steep to vegetate.
That's exactly when you need to vegetate.
There's nothing too steep to vegetate.
All right.
I would simply point them to the right side of the bottom photo.
Yeah.
Yep. Took the words out of my mouth, Chase. I was like, I can see that.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
I gotcha. Okay.
And I think, Tim, you could express, we understand it's more difficult and you may need to put down an erosion control blanket to do it. Yeah. That it's not that it's trivial, but it's very doable.
Yeah. Okay.
And I've seen, in fact, down the road from us, they put this like a burlap something or other, that, and the seed grew through it.
Yeah.
Right.
They did that over at Monarch too, on their slopes.
Yeah. So.
Okay. Yep. That was it for me.
Okay. I believe that brings us to the conclusion of our meeting. Anything else y'all got? Okay. Then I think we need a motion to adjourn.
I move that we adjourn.
I'll second that one.
All right, final roll call. Michael
Livingston, aye.
Kyle.
Maxfield, aye.
Ed
Full-time.
Carl
Melberg, aye.
Chase
Burbank, emphatically aye.
And myself, aye. We are adjourned.
All right, have a good night, guys.
Have a good night.